If you woke up tomorrow speaking perfect English, what would you do first? Would you finally book that trip you've been dreaming about? Would you sit in a meeting at work speaking confidently without a single pause? Or maybe you do simply enjoy the freedom of ordering coffee in another country, making small talk with the barista, and feeling like you belong anywhere in the world. This is John from Focus English Audio, and I want you to hold on to that image because it's not just a fantasy, it's closer than you think. You see, fluency is not something reserved for born-gifted learners or people who live abroad. It is a skill you can build no matter where you are, no matter your age, and no matter how many times you have felt stuck before. I've worked with countless learners who started exactly where you are now, a bull, to understand English. But freezing when it was time to speak. They go tell me, "But John, the words are in my head but they just want to come out, and I get it." That gap between what you understand and what you can say can feel like an unshakable wall. But here in the truth, that wall is made of habits, and habits can be changed. The real secret to fluency isn't into cramming grammar rules or memorizing endless vocabulary lists, it's in building the kind of habits that make English a natural part of your life. Imagine your brain like a path in the forest. The more you walk the same path, the clearer it becomes. If you practice speaking, listening, and thinking in English every day, those paths become highways. And once you have highways in your mind, your words will flow without you even trying. But let's be honest, most learners have been taught the wrong way. They've been told to aim for perfection before speaking, to translate everything in their head, to spend hours on grammar drills. And while these might look like bone study, but they often lead to hesitation, self-doubt, and slow progress. I want you to forget that approach. From this moment, I want you to see English not as a school subject, but as a living, breathing language, a tool you can use to connect, to share ideas, and to explore the world. Think about the last time you had an opportunity to speak English. Maybe it was a tourist asking for directions. Maybe it was an online meeting with a colleague from another country. Did you jump into the conversation? Or did you hold back because you were worried about mistakes? That hesitation is exactly what we're going to remove. Over the course of this journey, I will give you simple but powerful steps to train your mind and mouth to work together. Steps to think in English, to speak without overthinking, and to replace fear with confidence. And the best part, you won't need to live in an English-speaking country to do it. You can build fluency from your bedroom, your kitchen, your commute, anywhere, if you approach it the right way. We start with your mindset because fluency begins there, and we dive into listening, speaking, vocabulary, and daily habits. I will also show you how to avoid the common mistakes that silently slow learners down. By the end, you won't have a system you can use every single day. No more random study, no more guessing what works. Just clear, consistent steps toward the English you've always wanted. And herein something important. I want you to promise yourself you want to wait for the perfect time to start speaking. There is no perfect time. You don't need to know every word, every rule, or every accent. You just need to start. Fluency is into a finish line, in a journey. Every sentence you speak is a step forward, every mistake is a lesson. And every day you keep going, you bearing a version of yourself that can walk into any conversation without fear. So as we go through this series, I want you to do something with me. Speak out loud even when you listening, repeat phrases, shadow my voice. Talk to yourself in English when you pause the video. The more you speak now, the faster your fluency will grow. And if you ever feel nervous or stuck, remember this: no one is judging you as much as you think. Most people are too busy focusing on their own words to notice your small mistakes. And those who do notice, they usually admire the fact that you were trying. So take a deep breath, grab your notebook if you like, but most importantly, get ready to practice with me. Because from this moment on, you're not just studying English, you're living it. And when you live it, fluency becomes inevitable. Now, let you begin. When most learners think about fluency, they imagine a finish line, noonday debut suddenly, forever, and speak perfectly forever. But fluency doesn't work that way. Itchy not a magical switch, itchy more like fitness. You build it with consistent training, and you keep it by staying active. This is why your mindset matters so much. If you think of English as something you have to bong complete, you've put unnecessary pressure on yourself. You would judge every mistake as failure. But if you see it as a living skill, you would approach it with curiosity instead of fear. I remember working with a student named Elena. She had studied English for years, but avoided speaking. When I asked why, she said, "Because I'm not ready yet." The truth? She was more ready than she realized. The only thing stopping her was the belief that she needed to be perfect before starting. Once she shifted her mindset to Ivy improve. As I speak, everything changed. She went from silent to conversational in a matter of weeks, simply because she allowed herself to try. That Dan, the first shift I want you to make, stop waiting. Speak now, make mistakes now, learn now. Your progress will accelerate the moment you give yourself permission to be imperfect. The second mindset shift is to treat English as part of your identity. If you only use English in a classroom or during study time, your brain will always label it as foreign. But if you start using it in daily life, thinking in English when you cook, narrating your actions, talking to your pet, your brain begins to accept it as normal. Over time, it stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like you. And herein the third mindset shift: celebrate effort, not just results. You might have days when you struggle to find words, or when you forget something you learned. Okay, those days still count. Every moment you choose English, you are strengthening those mental pathways. If you can see progress in the effort itself, you would stay motivated for the long run. Mindset won't magically make you fluent overnight, but it will determine whether you keep going long enough to get there. And that's why we start here. Because everything else depends on it. A lot of learners focus almost entirely on speaking practice, thinking that talking more will automatically make them fluent. But here in the truth, your speaking ability is only as strong as your listening skills. If your ears can't catch the rhythm, the pronunciation, the natural patterns of English, your mouth will always struggle to produce them. Think of a musician. Before they play a song, they have to hear it, understand its flow, feel its beat. Language works the same way. This is why I tell my students, listen more than you speak, especially at the beginning. But listen actively. Don't just have English on in the background. Pay attention. Notice how native speakers connect words, how they pause, how their tone changes when they asking a question versus telling a story. One of the most powerful exercises is shadowing, listening to a sentence, then immediately repeating it, trying to match the speaker's speed, tone, and pronunciation as closely as possible. You can do this with dopes, YouTube videos, movies, even songs, and you don't have to understand every word to benefit. In fact, sometimes focusing too much on meaning can distract you from the sound of the language. Your goal here is to train your ears until English feels natural, until you can predict what comes next in a sentence just from its rhythm. When that happens, speaking becomes easier, because your brain already has the patterns stored. Another tip: vary your listening sources. Don't just listen to one accent or one type of speaker. Expose yourself to American, British, Australian, English, listen to formal interviews and casual conversations, watch movies, but also listen to news reports, audiobooks, and real-life recordings. The more variety you hear, the more flexible your speaking will become. Remember, listening isn't too passive. Gene training. And if you commit to it daily, you will be amazed at how quickly your speaking improves. Now that we built the listening foundation, let you talk about speaking, the part that scares most learners the most. If you've ever frozen in a conversation, you know the feeling. Your heart races, your mind goes blank, and you suddenly become hyper-aware of every word you say. This is the moment where fear can either stop you or push you forward, and the only way to beat that fear is by facing it often. I want you to understand something important. Confidence doesn't come first. Practice comes first, and confidence follows. You can't wait until you feel ready to speak, because that day won't come. You have to speak while you're still unsure, while your sentences are still messy, while you still make mistakes. One of my favorite exercises is what I call bowl 5-minute toss. Every day, pick a topic, your weekend plans, your favorite movie, a news story, and talk about it out loud for 5 minutes without stopping. It doesn't matter if you're alone. The point is to train your brain to keep producing language without constant self-editing. Another exercise. Record yourself speaking. Yes, it feels awkward at first, but when you play it back, you will hear patterns you never noticed. Words you repeat too often, sounds you mispronounce, or grammar mistakes that keep popping up. This feedback is gold. And herein a mindset trick. When you speak, focus on the person you're talking to, not on yourself. Shift your attention from am I making mistakes? Down, am I connecting with them? Because connection is the real goal of language. Native speakers make mistakes all the time, but they keep talking because they focused on the conversation, not perfection. So, speak to connect. Let your words be imperfect. The more you do it, the less fear will control you. Fluency isn't built in a week, a month, or even a year. Divine, built in the quiet moments when no one, watching. The days you practice, even when you are tired, the times you choose English instead of your native language. That tune. Why daily habits matter more than bursts of intense study. Start small. 15 minutes a day of focused practice beats 3 hours once a week. Your brain thrives on repetition. Decide when you practice, morning, lunch, break, evening, and protect that time. Use it for a mix of listening, speaking, and vocabulary review. Surround yourself with English. Change your phone and computer settings. Write your to-do list in English. Narrate your day to yourself. Join online groups where people post in English. The more your environment is filled with the language, the faster it will become second nature. And don't forget to track your progress. Keep a simple journal of what you practice each day, new words you learned, and moments when you successfully used English in real life. Looking back on these entries will remind you how far you've come, especially on days you feel stuck. Finally, make English enjoyable. Watch shows you love. Talk to people who make you laugh. Read about topics you're passionate about. Joy keeps you consistent, and consistency, more than anything else, is what leads to fluency. Remember, this isn't just about speaking another language. It's about unlocking opportunities, connecting with the world, and becoming a more confident version of yourself. And every day you practice, you will moving closer to that goal.